Hi, we're the Infamy Fantasy Esports team, and we host fantasy Fortnite tournaments on our website, infamy.gg, every week. So head on over there to check that out. But today we're going to be talking about the Chapter 2 Season 3 event where Midas tries to combat the storm, and it results in the storm fusing with an insane tidal wave and just causing all sorts of chaos. So, with that being said, the new storm is a water zone
Yeah.
kind of thing. And when you go in it, you're slow at first, and you still continue to take storm damage. You can't build, you can't shoot, you can't heal. You can only float slowly, but after 15 seconds, I believe it is, of swimming in the zone, you go a little bit faster. I'm not sure if it's faster than your regular run speed, but also at the same time, while you're in the zone, you're moving towards the top of the water. So if you do stay in the zone for too long and you come out, you'll just die from fall damage from dropping from the top of a tidal wave,
hmm
which is completely insane and game changing because a lot of the pro players and competitive players in general are used to being able to heal in zone. You can take your time with zone with things like floppers. You can have four stacks of four floppers in a stack, three slurp fish. Takes 1 second to pop 50 health. So people were became accustomed to this play style where they can play slow and zone wasn't really effective. But now zone seems super
It's a
punishing.
completely new mechanic. Before we get into that, I don't know. I was watching the event, and my God, they need to hire another like creative direct, not creative direct, like either editor or director to oversee these events because that took forever. That just to watch five pillars come out of the water. Like yes, the aftermath of like what it resulted in is super cool. I think it's gonna shake things up in a big way. But my God, as it was just boring to watch. It was just like little things come out of the water. We're gonna zap the water. It's gonna come in. It's gonna go away, and now it's gonna come back in again. And then we're flashing to not
Yeah.
Tifu in a suit.
Yeah,
um,
the
I
that's
mean,
like a whole separate thing. The
yeah,
lore and
I mean,
they like to have like this great dramatic build up to something that's like I don't even know how to describe it. It's like they have this huge buildup for something that's like pretty like five things coming, the five pylons coming out of the water,
you know,
and then you're like, all right, I just like stared at these five pylons come out of the water for 5 minutes, and then like the whole point of it is the agency explodes, but
yeah.
like you're
I
the
mean,
build up to that is
you could. There's so much fat there you could trim off. I mean, I see a lot of people complaining, "Oh, this isn't the Epic didn't keep in mind of competitive Fortnite when they did this. Is for casuals, blah blah blah, to get new players." I mean, like if you want, I can see that argument, but like to draw in these new people, it has to be digestible. This was like going on way too long for just very slow movements, and then just like back in, kind of flash out, flash back in. Oh, I'm in the bus, and there's water everywhere. I feel like Kevin Costner in Waterworld,
yeah.
in a terrible situation. Anyway, that's besides the point. But yeah, this is definitely going to change up this map awareness heavily. I,
Yeah.
I think, which is good.
And it's funny because I saw a lot of people on Twitter, they were complaining about how this isn't I don't we don't like this new zone. You can't build, you can't shoot, you can't heal. Like what this is terrible. If you're
Yeah.
in zone, you're dead. But everyone also last season, season 2, was complaining about the flopper meta where
Yeah.
you get to late game and then a player would just be in the storm 100 yards out
Mm-hmm.
just healing and then comes in takes high ground for free because who's expecting someone to be in a 10 tick storm for fucking
Yeah.
30 seconds, so you literally can't do that anymore, which is what the competitive community wanted. So I mean, yeah, it may be a little bit different than what you're used to, and it may reward players who rotate early and know the map and their landing spots and can loot quickly,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that's pretty competitive in my opinion,
I,
and
I
it
I
addresses a
think
major issue.
I think it's a good give and take. Like it, yeah. Like you mentioned earlier, that the longer you're in the ocean or the water, or now the zone, eventually you swim faster. You just accelerate. You become Michael Phelps, and you just like breaking world records, zooming across the map. So that does kind of lessen the fact if you are caught up, kind of caught or way outside of where the zone is going to end up, you can get there faster. But the trade-off is you can't heal, you can't shoot, you can't build. So if you do survive long enough to get into the zone, I feel like there should be that's where you can get punished. I think
Yeah.
that's a good method. There are clips of people getting perpetually sucked into like an endless cycle of getting tossed out of the zone, back into it, blah 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 blah. Maybe
Hmm.
I could see them when you get out of the storm or the ocean, you get launched out. Maybe you go a little like a few feet farther, so it's like you don't get sucked immediately back in, especially in during the moving zones late game. So that way you're just not stuck. You don't get like hard punished. But it will, yeah, I think like you alluded to, rotations. Like in Apex, it's very important. Like the teams who can predict where the zone is going and rotate early and get a
Hmm.
strategic foothold, those teams usually end up later on earning more points. So maybe that will transfer over to Fortnite, where it will reward the players that are able to predict, react, and move quicker instead of being able
Yeah.
to just hug the zone and then like flop her up if they get stuck behind some builds.
Yeah. And that is a good point that you made about the speed boost thing, because a lot of players also were complaining about, oh, the only form of movement is launch pads and boats.
Hmm.
Helicopters aren't competitive. So now you have this zone that, yeah, you're going to take damage and you can't do anything in it, but if you're in it for a decent amount of time, you can potentially get a speed boost. I haven't been able to go into the game and
Yeah.
play because after the event the servers are down because everyone and their mother is probably trying to see what's going on. But I wonder if it's actually a viable movement strategy to go. Maybe you like, all right, so you're coming out of zone, you see an area is congested, you take the long way around, you swim around, get that movement speed and get better positioning coming out of zone. Yeah, you'll have less health,
Hmm.
but you can avoid things a lot better using that.
Was there? I didn't. Yeah, I haven't played it yet either, but I'm wondering. From the clips I've seen, it's like everyone was like swimming directly towards the zone and like an A to B.
Mhm,
Like you
mhm.
will. Do you think players are able to kind of like kind of direction themselves to go around so they don't immediately go to the closest point and able to like swing around? Do you think
Yeah,
they
yeah,
have
yeah.
that
You
much
can
control?
swim. Yeah, yeah. You have freedom of movement
Okay.
in the water zone. I don't even know what to call it. The tidal wave at this point. I feel like zone is no longer, but yeah, you have free range of movement.
Tsunami?
But it's just that it ramps up so, yeah, the tsunami, it ramps up so slow that when you're in it you're like a sitting egg pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to, I can't wait to see scrims tonight if they do have them and how players are gonna react to this, because one, you could do like I said, and like if it works the way I think it works from what I've seen, that you can use it as a little bit of mobility to get better positioning and not have those situations where you can only come out of zone in one spot because you don't want to waste a launch pad. Now you can swim around, or you can just be like completely dead coming out of zone, so
Yeah, I
because you
mean,
like
I could
it
see
could go.
some the new kind of zone guarding or camping is like you see
Mhm,
someone coming in, you just start building. You just start
mhm.
building all across it, so they're just constantly in
Yeah.
the zone, and eventually maybe if you can keep up with them,
Mhm.
they just keep rising, and eventually they come out and just drop.
Yeah, yeah. I really wonder how like difficult it is to see into zone
Hmm.
from the outside of it, if that makes any sense. When you're the person who's already in zone, how difficult it'll be to see people coming out if you can just like fry them, if they're, because they're moving a little bit slower than a walking person and they can't build or shoot. And we already know about the mechanics some players have in Fortnite,
Hey man,
and
just pure raw, God gifted mechanics.
raw aim talent just fry your shit real quick. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Hmm.
Another thing that's interesting is that vehicles, and I'm not 100% sure on this, but I did see someone say that builds may be destroyed in zone. I do remember a couple seasons back they like tampered with some kind of
Yeah,
idea
I
that
saw
if
that
anything
too, but
left in the zone.
I don't think they're affected. Some people
Yeah,
saying that.
old builds are
Yeah.
stay alive.
Hmm.
But I do know vehicles explode if you use them in zone,
Okay.
so you can't use a boat if you're like deep in zone. And I really wonder how this is going to impact like far out locations like the yacht, the
Mm,
shark, the grotto, all these locations with mythic POIs. I mean, I'm making uh, this educated guess on what's going to happen based on the current map, but season 3 is going to come out and the whole map could change. But during this interim period right now, it's very interesting because you have these locations that are in the far off ends of the map, and now you can't use boats in zone
mm,
because they'll blow up. You really can't just be in zone too long itself because you'll rise to the top of the tidal wave and just die from fall damage coming out unless you have a crash pad, but crash pads aren't in competitive. So it's going to be super interesting to see how people who land at these places
mm.
adapt and
Yeah,
learn to rotate.
will
But
it kind of like funnel more people into the more central areas of the map, and then
yeah,
like
yeah,
there'll be more kind of skirmishes for those early game materials because they'll be just more hotly contested in
mhm,
comparison to like the grotto and you say.
mhm.
So that's something to.
Um, yeah, yeah. But like Fortnite players don't like to land on each other early game because it does risk ruining both your games competing for loot. So who knows how this is going to affect
Hmm.
competitive. But I do think that people should wait for the new season because I saw a lot of people roasting it and giving it hate. It does have potential to it solves a lot of issues that people were complaining about last season with flopper meta being able to stay in zone for however long, lack of mobility could potentially be the swimming in zone could potentially be a viable mobility option.
Hmm.
Um, what else? I think that's those are pretty much the two major complaints, but I know we're gonna have to wait until the full season 3 comes out. It is super interesting though. I can't wait to hop in and play,
Yeah, it's exciting that
see how it shakes everything up.
like you usually think of or game changing mechanics of like new locations, new items, new weapons, new vehicles. I never really thought of completely tampering with the storm itself, besides just like raw damage that
Yeah.
you receive from
Mhm.
being in it. So that's
Yeah, and I will give it to Epic. A lot of people give them shit for a lot of things, but the creative ingenuity that they have, like I would never have saw something like this or could have guessed that this was what they were going because there were leaks and snapshots of the map being flooded and water zones, but like when they said water zones, they meant like locations that were underwater.
yeah.
But this is something completely new and different, and I can't wait to see what season 3 has. And just my last thoughts wrapping up, I do think it's good that this zone is a lot less forgiving and it'll reward smart players who rotate better, because
Hmm.
why not reward those people who actually have brains and can like predict a loop path and all
Hmm.
right, this side of zone is dead zone, this side of zone is heavily congested, we should go around, we should go this way. It rewards those smart players like Chap who just know how to read zones,
Hmm.
and I can't
May
wait to see what the competitor scene
Yeah,
does.
we won't really see much of this in this the upcoming solos, but I'm thinking more in terms of when we get into finally back into trios. Just like if this zone
Mhm,
is still in play, um, maybe if you dedicate one of your boys who's the best at finding ramps in the midst of the chaos, just free ramps, to be able to
mhm,
kind of somehow navigate his way through a bunch of teams and then start setting up builds on another side of the map. And this is when zones are
mhm.
moving, and then you have your other two boys go into the tsunami, swim around, and meet them. So and then they're able to just land on your first boy's builds
Yeah.
to
Mhm.
for a quick rotate.
Yeah, and because like everyone else who will be in the zone with you while you're rotating won't be able to shoot you. You only have to worry about the people who are already in zone shooting at you. And then during moving zones, you don't really have that much time to be looking out. So it could be a viable rotation
Hmm.
tactic for those moving zones, not like super late zones where it's doing like 10 tick, but
Hmm. Yeah, and
just like
like
a quick move around,
yeah,
you know,
it could that could be
reposition.
that'd be a cool strat. It'd also be kind of high risk, high reward because you are leaving one of your boys by himself in the zone while your other two are off just swimming like Dory. Just keep swimming. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
for
But
things,
like for all we know, oh sorry, you can go.
it was going to be another topic. So you can continue on this one.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, for all we know, this could just be an interim that this zone is only a thing for the next 2 days, and then season three happens. That whole map floods and like the
Hmm.
water zone was just like a temporary thing.
I think
But
it's
it is
too
an
cool.
interesting concept.
I think it's too cool
Yeah.
to just have for 2 days. But if
Mhm.
hopefully if they keep it in longer, um, maybe something they can add is sharks. When during the event thing I was
Mhm.
watching, I thought there's like trees just floating in the tsunami. One of them looked like a shark, and I was like, oh, what if they add sharks where you can actually grab onto and ride, and then like
Yeah.
which you could pilot, and so like instead of just being forced up, like you can direct it back down towards the ground so you don't get that fall
Yeah.
damage. That would be kind of cool.
That is super interesting because there were like fish, like you said, trees, a couple of like just broken up fucking
Hmm.
backwash or whatever in the water. Like it would be interesting if they like put something, some kind of transportation in the zone, like via like fish, like you
Hmm.
said, or maybe even like a submarine vehicle that can only be used in the water zone.
Pocket shark, yeah,
Yeah,
that
pocket.
like that dishonest Yumi in League, just that pocket cap, just healing you, no effort.
Yeah,
Maybe you have a pocket
yeah.
shark where it's only viable if you're in the zone and you're counting to be on that zone.
Or or imagine if they have like shark NPCs, the community would rage. Like you're if you're in the zone for too long, you get bit by a
There's Shark Week. Here we go.
shark week. Yeah, there's a lot of potential that they can do with this, and it's super interesting. And I don't think any BR has done anything like this. So Fortnite yet again
Hmm.
paving the way in the BR genre. Like you said, no one has ever really tampered with Zone besides the numbers. Now we have like this whole different concept of Zone. Does Zone have to be even a zone? Like I know Call of Duty does gas. What does Apex call
It's
it?
just uh, I know I just called it zone.
It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't even have a
It's the
name.
exact same thing. Just like just damage. It's
Yeah,
just orange instead of purple. So
yeah, it does damage. I wonder, but like other games might take from this as well and be like, oh wow, we what can we get going with the zone,
mhm.
you know? And I think that's what makes a good gaming experience and a company just trying new things and not being afraid to innovate in different ways. Because I'm sure that there's so many people who are just freaking out initially, but
I mean,
we're not gonna know until we see how it actually pans out fully.
yeah, it's early, but
But
it's exciting.
yeah, definitely. Well, with that being said, we're the Infamy Fantasy Esports team, and we host fantasy Fortnite tournaments on our website, infamy.gg. We're going to be hosting weekly fantasy tournaments once season three starts and the FNCS begins again. So be sure to check that out. And we'll definitely try and do another video for when season three officially launches. We'll do a follow up and see if the water zone stays. Maybe there'll be some new perks to go along with it, like Jake said, Pocket Shark and other crazy and cool things. So hopefully we can get that done, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good one.
See ya.